When beginning to tape a flag, you want to make sure that you have all of the pieces down to its root. So if you see here, I have a pair of scissors, some electrical tape. In this case, I'm using white, but any color will do when taping a flag. I have my 2 crutch tips, and then I have a big bolt and a little bolt. These are the weights for the flag. You see one is longer than the other one. I also have my silk over here on this side. All right, we're gonna start with taping our bolts. So I'm gonna take my electrical tape and I'm gonna put just a little bit right there on the top of the mushroom curve. So part of it is going to overlap on top of there. Then I'm gonna start wrapping it around once, and then I start moving down the bolt into underneath the mushroom cap. So right into there. Just go around a couple of times. Then I'm gonna grab my scissors, disconnect the tape. From there, I'm gonna flatten out the top hat onto the bolt, like so. The next thing you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna tape the bottom of the bolt. So I'm gonna get my tape back out. I put just a little bit here at the very end of the bolt, just like that. Then I go around once, twice, and it's good. Not too much tape. This is to help keep the bolt from rattling. So you have to make sure that you do it to both bolts. So now I'm going to do that to the second one. Again, I put the tape on top of the mushroom cap, just like that. Go around, start moving down the bolt into underneath the mushroom cap. It doesn't have to be pretty right now. You're not going to see this. And then I grab my scissors and cut it off. Flatten out the top hat here, like so. Then grab my tape to do the bottom of the bolt. Put just a little bit at the very end. Go once and twice. And that is how you tape your bolts. From there, you want to make sure that your top bolt is going to be the bigger bolt. So we have big head, little feet. So this will be my bottom bolts in the flag. So when putting it into the pole, you put the whole bolt in just like that. Then from there, you're going to make a plus sign to go over the bolt while it's in the pole. So right now I'm working with my top bolts, so this will be the top of the flag, my big bolts. I do put some tape on just an inch into the pole, just like that. And then it goes up and over, all the way to the other side. Get my scissors, about an inch into the pole like that. This is just for a little bit of extra security to make sure that the bolts can stay in the pole, even if the crutch tip breaks. So I do repeat the same thing, going the other way. I go all the way up and over, again about an inch into the pole. From there, I'm going to grab my silk. You want to make sure that the pointy part of the silk is the bottom of the silk. You see that point right there? That's going to be the bottom of the silk. So I have to put the bottom of the silk on first when I put it onto the pole. And it goes on just like that. You're going to take this tab here. It's going to fold all the way in half, just like so, and then lay it right up against the very end of the pole. From there, we're going to tape our silk to our pole just to make sure it's extra secure. So I fold my tab over like that, put some tape on it, and I go around once and twice. This part doesn't have to be super pretty. It's just for extra security. Then cut it off. From there, you're going to grab your crutch tip and put it on top of the pole. Here I am now with my crutch tip on my pole, and my silk is on my pole as well. I'm going to grab some tape, put it into the silk like an inch, like that. It's important to not cut pieces of tape before you start to tape, but rather to lay the whole roll on top, up and over, just so you know how much to use. Okay, so I go all the way up and over to the other side, and then you want to try to match the length as best as you can, and then work around the silk also as best as you can. Just like that. So put it onto your silk just a little bit. Then we're going to do the same thing going the other way. So now we make a plus sign over the top of our pole. Okay, from there, we're going to cover up the rest of our crutch tip by making another plus sign to go all the way up and over in the holes that we have now created. So I'm going to put my tape here where there is no tape and go up. Excuse me, just like that. So I'm covering up now where there is no tape, go all the way up and over to the other side, like so. And then I gotta repeat the same thing for the last part. Right here, so just so the whole thing is now covered up with tape to secure it to the pole. All right, from there, you're going to take the tape, put it all the way at the top here, at the very edge, just like that. We're going to wrap it all the way around, all the way to cover up the tape that we just placed. But the important thing here is that you want to make sure that you're going for distance while still covering the flag. So I'm just barely overlapping the piece of tape that I just placed, if you see right there. Just barely any overlap. Okay, so this is about getting distance down the pole while still securing it. Don't go all the way over and over again in one spot. So I go all the way down, cover up all that tape that I just placed. Boop. And your top crutch tip is done. It's taped, secure. Give it a little tug test. Make sure it's all good. Okay, I'm now going to repeat the same process with the bottom bolt, the small bolt at the bottom of my pole. Remember, big head, little feet, big bolts on top, little bolts on bottom. So I start again with my plus sign, just going about an inch into the pole there to go all the way up and over, like so. And then I gotta do the same thing on the other, going the other way. So I make a plus sign. Just like that. So I've put 2 pieces of tape. They go about an inch into the pole and it looks like that now. Now I'm gonna grab my crutch tip and put it all the way on top, like so. So now that my crutch tip is all the way over the bottom of my pole, I'm now going to take my tape and repeat the same process that we did on the top of the pole. I'm going about an inch into the pole, not too far, goes all the way up and over, like so. Do a little cut right there. Then I got to make a plus sign, just like we did earlier. Again, about an inch into this pole, make sure that you're matching lengths with your tape as best as you can. And I go, boop. Okay, and now we have to cover up the pieces that don't have any tape on it. So I start here, go all the way up and over to the other side, Just like that. Little snip. And then we gotta get the last piece going all the way up and over once again. Just like that. Okay, so now my pole should look like this as it goes all the way around. Then we're gonna repeat the same thing at the very bottom of our pole. So starting all the way at the end. Remember, this is about getting distance, not going around and around and around in the same spot. So I go around a little bit, move it down. But you want to make sure that you don't have holes like that. That's an ugly hole. Okay, so as you're doing this, you still have to find that overlap in your taping. Just like that. You can see the overlap right there. It goes all the way around. All the way through to cover up the tape that I just placed. And then no further. Stop it right there. And that's done. That's the bottom crutch tip. Okay, and the last thing we're gonna focus on here is the tab. You wanna start your taping into the silk just a little bit like that to go around. You're gonna have to hold the silk in place so it doesn't move and get twisted. And it goes around, tape it all the way to the pole. I would fold this tab up in half just so your tab can be just a little bit shorter. Make sure that this lays flat as best as you can, of course. Then it keeps going around and around, just to cover up the tab. You don't want it poking out. And one more. There we go. My tab is taped. I lied, this is the last thing. When taping your tapes, you want to make sure that you line your flag up against another flag just to make sure that you have the right measurement. So I see this tape is here, so I transfer it over onto this one. Just like that, as best as you can. Goes around once and twice, and that's it. You repeat the same process for this bottom tape here. Make sure that your poles are lined up. I place my tape to align it there. And then it goes around once and twice. And just cut out. And that's it. That's how you tape a flag.